definitely was the results. Now, I got product results, as I just told you, I had great product results. But I have to be honest, if I look back and I search my memory, I am not sure that just getting those great product results myself would have led me into this business. A big part of it was the results that the other people were getting, because it was so confirming to me. I mean, I knew my history and I knew that I was better, but when Eileen started getting great product results and her autoimmune disorder started getting better, and we knew people who their pain was going away and they were sleeping and they had hormonal issues and all kinds of other things were happening, that's what created some excitement for me, and it gave me belief. So it went from a decision to results to belief, and that was belief in myself again. I started having belief in myself again. And that had gone away after all those years of feeling like, God, I'm just going to be a sick person the rest of my life. This is it at 45. So it gave me belief in myself. It gave me, obviously, belief in the products. It gave me belief in the company. And it led me to coming to a leadership school. And I have to say, when I really searched my mind about how did I do this, 8 years later, what have I done? Events was on my list. I couldn't get it off. I kept kind of thinking, oh, do I really need to say the importance of events? But I couldn't take it off the list. Coming to events, not just the leadership schools, always having a goal to be a gold school, but I'm talking about Eileen and I doing our own events locally, getting on every conference call. Valerie mentioned it this morning about being plugged in. For me, that has been essential on my path. It's been absolutely one of the most, it has to be on the list. It's one of the key pieces, is being plugged in and being at events, including conference calls and local events. Because what happens to me at these events, the very first one actually, was realizing that there's all this support, all these fantastic people. I met Nina and John there, I met Randy and Vanessa, I met George and Bob and Nancy and Marsha, and a lot of leaders and a lot of other people at that very first one. I found out that there was a program, that there was a system in place. I didn't have to figure this out. I didn't have to figure out how I was going to do this. There were people like today that were going to be able to pick up the phone when I call for a three-way, and there was something here in place. And so what that did for me is it got me into action. We all have to get into action. You have to have a vision for sure, but eventually you actually have to pick up the phone and start calling people. And so coming to these events got me into action, and that led me to a whole other set of results, because when I left that first leadership school, I went home, I had made a list of about 150 people. I got on the phone, I started calling people and three-waying people. Within 2 weeks, I think, I fast started, and the check I earned that month was over $4,317, I think it was. Within 6 months, I was a director, and then 3 years later, I was a senior director, and I reached the executive director level last year, just before the 8-year anniversary of my business was when I reached this millionaire status. So, in all of that, what I want to acknowledge is we all have the realities of life to deal with. I don't want to, pretend that along that path and that journey that I've been on, there weren't obstacles, because that's just life. We're all obviously going to encounter obstacles. And I just have never let that stop me. And I know Wendy gave me a name called the Tank several years ago. And when I first heard it, I was like, the tank? I didn't even get it. I thought, okay, well, maybe I'm a tank. But I want to say, I just want to say, Wendy, I know where that came from, and I really appreciate where you come from. I saw a movie recently that I can't say I would really recommend. It's called The War Horse. A lot of you probably have heard of it. We can talk about why I don't know that I really recommend it. But there's a great metaphor in that movie where, and I could just only think of Wendy when this scene happened, when this horse, this amazing, I love horses, and this amazing, beautiful English thoroughbred horse, through all these different turns of events, ends up being a war horse. It's in the war. And it's riderless, and it's just running, in a battle. And it gets into a place where there is a tank that is just not stopping and coming right at it. And it's in a place where looks like there's no place for it to go. And of course, in the theater, I was like telling it, I have to leave. I can't even watch this. I gotta get out of here. It was so upsetting to me. Anyway, the horse, it was just magnificent. The horse climbed over the tank. The horse just climbed over scared. It was like the only way I could keep going. It went over the tank. And then it did collapse. Eventually it got all tangled up in this barbed wire, and I'm really mad at Steven Spielberg. I don't know how he made that movie without hurting horses. I don't get it. But anyway, that's why I wouldn't recommend it. But it did stop, and it did get stopped, and it did go down, but eventually it got up again. And then one of the things I realized this year is I'm not a machine. And watching that tank, I realized, no, I'm not a tank, I'm not a machine, I'm a person just like we all are. We're humans, and we're going to go through things in life that are going to be hard. And one of the things that's so incredible about this business is that it gives you the ability to stop and rest and heal. You know, if you have an injury, it's like you break your leg. You have to stop and let it heal, but the business is there. I had that happen this year. Shadhan wasn't stopping. You know, I have Julie and Dan Fideli on my 4th level. I have Vesna on my 5th level. I have Marge Wheeler on my 2nd level. I have all these incredible people who are running in their businesses, and even though I had to slow down a little, they were still going. So it is an incredible gift, this kind of a business, that I didn't know when I started on this path. I didn't know any of this. I trusted, I had all those things, I made the decision, I used the results to build some belief. I came to the events, I got into action, and I let the results keep feeding that cycle. And my hope is that these could be some little breadcrumbs on your own path. Because I was thinking about when you're hiking on a trail, and I've been on hikes where somebody's ahead of you cutting, and you're the last person, it's not that fun, okay? So I know Shadhan's right behind me, and I hope a whole bunch of the rest of you are behind us, and I really look forward to seeing you all on that trail. And I want to close with a poem that some of you may have heard before. It's one of my favorite poets and one of my favorite poems. It's called The Journey by Mary Oliver. I think you have a slide for this, Doug, that you can put up.